I always talk about this buy the breach methodology for making money in the stock market. And a lot of times people kind of play it off and blah, 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 whatever. The simple fact of the matter is the market does not give a fuck about a breach. And I'm going to prove it to you. And if you like making money for doing nothing and you want to capitalize on where you should capitalize, because Lord knows the CEOs of a lot of these companies are making crazy money and you should be making it too, because cyberflation is a real thing. Go look up my research on that. Let's just run through one example. And I'm putting together a report I'm going to put out before the end of the year about the buy the breach sort of portfolio. And you guys can look at that on your own. But let's run through just one example. And I want folks to really understand how much this plays. So I was at the gym doing my gym thing, and I saw on CNBC that Nucor, Nucor, their earnings are up. Like, it's amazing. The company's kicking ass and taking names. Well, immediately for me, I go, wait a minute. Nucor had a breach, not one breach. They had multiple breaches. Well, wasn't it material in nature and wasn't it reported to the SEC and et cetera, et cetera? So let's run through some of the analysis on this whole Nucor thing, and I'll show you just how much money you could have made if you just followed the buy the breach thing. And you should, because Lord knows they're going to pass the stuff off to their shareholders and stock. And guess what? The price of the stuff that they make has gone up because they passed that cost on to us. So here, let's look at this. Now, this is how incredibly difficult it is to find this stuff. If you're, willing to take 10 seconds to do the research, you go into Google and you'll type in Nucor breach, right? There you go. Nucor has experienced at least 2 recent distinct data breaches that we know of, is what it ought to say. The first was a major 2025 cyber attack that temporarily halted production after a third party gained access to its IT systems and exfiltrated limited data. The second, or the older one, was in 2023, which affected employee data, which is a different type of data, which resulted in a class action lawsuit that provided credit monitoring service to the infected individuals. For awesome. Hooray. Yes. So 2025 cyber attack. Nucor detected unauthorized third-party access to its IT systems in May of 2025, not too long ago. Response, the company took precautionary measures. How can something be precautionary when it's already happened? Anyway, including temporary shutting down some production operations and taking affected systems offline. Data, Nucor later confirmed that threat actors did exfiltrate a limited amount of data. And current status, Nucor has since restored operations and, quote, believes the threat actor has been removed from its network. It has notified federal law enforcement and is working with external experts. Hooray, huzzah. 2023 incident. A data breach occurred between May and June of 2023, which affected employees, right? So think about this. Think about the timeline of this. This first thing happened in 2023 that affected their corporate systems, employees, whatever else. 25, the same sort of thing happens, but this time it's the production system. You think that there was likely backdoors installed and that the bad guys came back and then they went from employee stuff that might have gotten locked down to non-employee stuff, production that was more valuable. The compromise, the breach involved the exfiltration of names, bank account numbers, routing numbers, and other sensitive information, stuff that's been pwned 600 times over. Legal action, a class action lawsuit was filed, alleging that Nucor's negligent cybersecurity practices led to the breach. Settlement, Nucor agreed to a settlement to resolve the lawsuit, which provided benefits like credit monitoring. Credit monitoring, isn't that awesome? Okay, so a little bit further into this, let's talk about this. So steelmaker Nucor restores operations, confirms limited shenge. So this is from Cybersecurity Dive. This is June of 2025. Nucor restores operations, confirms limited data breach. Okay, cool, whatever. Nucor, the leading steel manufacturer in the U.S., said it has restored operations following a hack in May that compromised a limited amount of information. The company, which produces roughly a quarter of America's raw steel, a quarter, that's a fuckload, believes it has evicted the hackers from its systems. I love how it says believes. Yeah. And does not expect the incident to have a material impact on its financial performance operations, and a filing with the SEC, which I have that filing.